Is this KvK of the year in the making? Let's take a look at the kingdoms that have registered for the recent Orleans pop-up and find out. Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Akina here, back with another Rise of Kingdoms video, and today we have the most insane potential KvK coming up. Out of the top 5 kingdoms via kill points, 4 of them are in this KvK. In the top 10, 5 of the top 10 are in this KvK. In the top 15, 6 of the top 15 kingdoms in the game are going to be in this KvK. This is going to be crazy. And within it, there are different storylines. Arguably the biggest one being 2377 and 1960 are finally going to go at it. There is almost no way that these two will be allied, at least from my opinion. But they're the two that wanted to fight, and they've both registered for the same mode alongside some other top kingdoms. And don't forget, it was only a pop-up or two ago that 2377 was also trying to fight 1093. So will 1093 also try and prove their own against 2377? Who knows? Who knows if we'll even end up on the same map? But what I can say is, if the map comes together with all of these kingdoms, it will be, for sure, KvK of the year. It's almost impossible to top. There are some big kingdoms missing: 2489, 1875, 1846, to name a few. These kingdoms decided to skip, so maybe they'll match up next pop-up. But yeah, it's crazy. Let's dive into some of the figures of these kingdoms, so we can figure out what could a map look like, and what would be fair from a Diplo perspective. How would you pair these kingdoms up? If you are enjoying the content, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. There's going to be plenty of content coming up regarding this KvK, and you don't want to miss it. Let's start things off by talking about which kingdoms have registered for this KvK. And there are a number of them. I think in total, it's around 92 kingdoms that registered for Orleans. But we're going to focus on the ones that we know are above 900 billion KP. There could be others that I've missed, and if I have, I apologize. I'll try and edit the video later to include them if I have. But for now, this is what we know. We're going to start off with 1606, my kingdom, the kingdom that I lead in, as I'm sure many of you are aware. So 16.7 billion power, missing one member in the alliance. Moving on to 60 GT. They need no introduction. Currently at 20.4 billion, missing one player. They have won it all. 12 stars. Multiple Osiris Leagues. What more can you say? One of the best Osiris League teams in the world. One of the best kingdoms in Rise of Kingdoms history. 1093, 93T, led by Silent Flow. 7 stars. Multiple Osiris Leagues. And the thing that's different about 93 versus other kingdoms, 93 has 2 alliances. No other top kingdom in the game has more than one. So how much of an advantage will this give them? So 93T, 93X. Next up, 1365. And until recently, 1365 joined 93, having 2 alliances. But they've since condensed to having only one. JST, full of history. Again, one of the best alliances of all time in Rise of Kingdoms. And you'll notice this is a recurring trend. Osiris League winner again. 19.6 billion, which is huge. This is the first KvK that they're going into as a one alliance kingdom. After JST, we'll go to GV77. GV77, where my cav account is, 24.2 billion power. Of course, a lot of that is Hope, Lion, and Cyborg, but still, 24 billion is no joke. Gift level 49, again, Osiris League winner, led by Shark. Moving on, we have, oh, surprise, another Osiris League winner, this time 2975, so 75 DC as their main alliance. 12.8 billion, missing 3 people from the alliance, 5 KvK wins, solid kingdom. Moving on to 2941 and Supernova, SN41, and then also 1473, Royal Family. Although they're missing a few people in the alliance, them, or 93X, currently, out of the alliances shown, have the lowest power. But that doesn't paint the whole picture. let's take a look at the stats of each kingdom and compare them against one another. On the screen now is a breakdown of the different stats for each of the kingdoms that we have looked at. We've got main alliance's power, main alliance's kill points, and domain power. For 1473, as they don't have 600 plus active accounts and they only have a single domain, I've taken their top 300 power and added a billion or so to it to make it roughly 18 billion to assume how many active accounts they have. But it should be in a fairly accurate ballpark. The others should all be pretty much bang on. So what stands out from this data? Firstly, 1960s kill points. They are insane. One alliance, 3.8 trillion. The closest isn't even 500 million away from them. And that kingdom, 1093, has 2 alliances. It's insane. The next thing that stands out is the single power of 2377's alliance. 24.2 billion is huge for one alliance. And that's not even including some of the other players that are not in the alliance that are rotating in AO. Although their kill points does include that, their power hasn't been taken into account here. So it's probably closer to 1093's power, 25.4, which is their 2 alliances put together. But what we also need to realise is main alliance power is not necessarily troop power. Troop power is slightly different because every account has a base amount of power from their tech, from their commanders, from their equipment, from their buildings. Your troop power is additional to that. I think it's around like 58 million for a max tech player when they're completely zeroed with no troops. So everything beyond that point becomes their troop power, which hasn't been taken into consideration here, but something to look at when Diplo actually does come around. The next thing that stands out is 365's domain power. Despite their alliance having 19.6 billion, outside of their main alliance, they still have another 20 billion power of troops that they can put into flags to reinforce structures, to reinforce rallies. It's huge and the highest domain power from any kingdom. It's very humbling seeing 1606 here. We're at the highest kill points, the highest power for the alliance that we've ever been. And I'm very proud of the kingdom and how much it's grown, the amazing recruitment we've had. But seeing we're at 1.9 trillion KP, and to see another kingdom in our KvK with double that is very humbling, let's say that. We knew what we were getting into, or we assumed what we were getting into. But yeah, seeing it on this table, it's going to be a battle whatever happens. Let's now take some time to think about what map pairings could be made in this KvK. And this is just an example of where some camps could be. This is by no means tested statistically, just put them onto the map so you can all see. We're going to start off by looking at the top 6 in the matchmaking pool and imagining if those 6 kingdoms were all put on a map together without any camp allies. I don't believe this will be the case, as there's quite a big difference between, let's say, 2975 and 1960. Even ourselves, 1606, we could end up with a campmate. But how would this play out Diplo-wise? Who would go with who? I think the natural and obvious decision to make is 1960 versus 2377. That feels inevitable. You could also say that 1093 want to fight 2377 after being called out, but then how could the rest of the map look? How would the rest of the allies fit? So this is what I believe could happen. I mean, remember, no talks have happened yet between any leaders, as far as I know. This is just theory crafting. It's far too early to talk about confirmed allies. You can't talk about anything in a map like Orleans before the position of each kingdom has been decided. So when looking at the stats, 1960, 1093 and 2975 together versus 2377, 365 and 1606 together. The main alliance power, there's really not much difference. It's about 1 billion power. For main alliance KP, you could say it's roughly around 700 billion. So that has a much bigger difference than main alliance power. But then also when you go to domain power, that's in favour of the 2377 side by a roughly 14 billion. And I know that's not troop power. Troop power is slightly different, but it makes sense. If one side is higher KP, the other side is higher power. I don't think too many would argue necessarily with this setup if it was like this. But of course, as mentioned before, there will likely be a campmate involved for at least one of these kingdoms. Now let's include the 2 kingdoms that we looked at previously in the video. Bring in 2941 and pair them with 2975, 1473 and pair them with 1606. How does this impact the numbers? So if we were to do this, the difference between both sides, the main alliance power is next to nothing. It's almost perfectly balanced. Regarding the KP difference, it stays at around 700 million. The power difference drops to around 12 billion. I think there will be many proposals when it comes to Diplo, if we're all on the same map. And who knows how it will play out when it actually comes down to it. I know everyone in this KvK will want a good fight, rather than an easy win. And with the kingdoms in this map, I'd hope there's no easy wins there. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too long diving into potential mapping scenarios, as so much depends on, well, firstly, if we're actually on the same map, but then also your map position. Your camping position is so crucial in Orleans. But yeah, that's a general overview of the upcoming KvK of the year in the making. I'll be following this KvK, of course, leading 1606, so expect more content to do with this KvK and much more in the future. If you've enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to this KvK, please do smash a like and subscribe to the channel. Each one really does mean a lot, so thank you to everyone that has. This is going to be epic, and I cannot wait. And I hope all of you, both watching and fighting in this KvK, also cannot wait for it to start. But let's see what map we get first. 1 week from the time of this video being recorded, we find out. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all next time.